Question for you.
Answer for you.
I'm Josh McDaniels.
Hi, Josh.
Hi, Juan. How you doing?
Doing well, sir.
So, I was sleeping in bed next to my beautiful wife in my beautiful mansion in beautiful Las Vegas, and I woke up in a cold sweat, had a nightmare. I just 3 a.m. shut up out of bed, and my wife turned to me and rubbed my back and said, "Joshy Poo, honey bun,
Joshua.
did you have the same nightmare again?" And I'm like, oh, grab my inhaler. Like, yeah, I had that nightmare again. She's like, "Don't worry, babe. You'll figure it out. You'll figure out a way to stop it." What do you think that nightmare was about?
Premature ejaculation.
Maybe. I feel like they probably worked that out. They've been together long enough. So I think it's not the offensive line, not what are they going to do at right tackle, not their young DBs, not the incredibly hard schedule, not the insane travel schedule. I think what he wakes up in cold sweats about is this. Most penalties in the Super Bowl era by franchise. Top 5, starting with 5. Lions, 5,598 penalties. Then Bills, 5,606 penalties, only 8 more. Dallas Cowboys, 5,659 penalties, only 53 more. Tennessee Titans, second most, 5,681 penalties. Just, what is that? 22 more. So between the 5th most penalties and 2nd most penalties all time in the Super Bowl era, there's only a difference of 83 penalties. So everyone's very clumped together, right? Like, there's not a drastic difference until you get to number 1, the Raiders. 6,415 total penalties in the Super Bowl era. Almost 800 more than number 2.
No, 730 something, 735. I got 734.
Look at the math skills on Juan. Someone paid attention. And that's compared to 2nd most through 5th most divided by 83. Like, there's only 83 penalties. So there really isn't that big of a gap between NFL franchises and the amount of penalties they get. With the exception of one team, the Raiders. This is Josh McDaniels' biggest hill to climb. This is Josh McDaniels' Rubik's Cube to fix this team. Because it is very and I hate using it, Patriot way to blow games with unforced errors, which a lot of penalties are. This is the number one thing Josh McDaniels has to fix, and this is the number one thing I think makes him wake up in cold sweats every night.
So I was watching that Browns 30 for 30 when they talked about Belichick being there the last, he was like the last coach of the Cleveland Browns, right?
Yes. Then they disappeared.
Right? And they just disappeared and they came back. Okay. So he was in a room with it seemed like ages ago. Like, I'm watching the video and I'm like, man, that's Nick Saban. And he looks older then than he does now. Yeah. With those crazy glasses and all that shit. Anyway, they were talking about penalties and players and how you would take a player who's maybe not as gifted, playing the game, but can be counted on better to not make as many penalties because he doesn't affect the entire play. If you cause a penalty, you get called for a penalty, you fuck up the entire play. So if you're not as good doing your job specifically, okay, that's a part of the play. Penalties ruin the entire play. So I'm of the opinion as well. If, let's say, for example, you have player A who is a superior athlete, way better at the position, but does a lot of penalties, and you have someone else who's more of a steady Eddie and doesn't get called, I'll take the steady Eddie because you know what to get from that guy, and you know that maybe the highs are going to be as high, but the lows aren't going to be as low either. And with so many positions on the field, you need those steady Eddies.
I also feel like part of it is as if Raider fans need more fuel on the fire that the league hates us. Like you have 2 through 5 that all have basically the same number of penalties. And then you have the Raiders with almost 800 more during that time span. Like is that really just they've been that undisciplined since Super Bowl I? Have they really just been like that many
I mean, the
more
first
false starts?
20 years or so, probably.
Well, yeah, that's probably. I wonder what that number was 20 years ago when it was just like
Oh,
the
God.
brutal like 70s and 80s Raiders teams.
Just breaking fools' necks and shit. Oh,
Where,
God.
where it was still like semi-legal to tackle at the neck. Just like a choke slam was a gray area back then, you know?
God damn. Dude, I know it's not Raiders, but I saw a video of Deacon Jones. And he's like, oh, I head slapped that fool. He done.
Yeah.
And you see this guy in the back behind, like just bobbleheading. That was like a move for him.
Yeah.
I line up against the best offensive tackle, and within the first couple plays, I just head slap him, and I give him a concussion, and that way he's out of the game. I'm like, Are you serious?
They use concussions the way boxers use jabs. It's just like setting up the rest of the game.
Yeah,
you know?
That's nuts.
So that's the number one thing I feel like, and that feels very Josh McDaniels like we don't shoot ourselves in the foot. We're going to be disciplined. We're not going to have these terrible penalties. And that's his biggest challenge. Not the O-line, not the young DBs, not giant expectations. I think that's going to be that's also going to be the best gauge, I feel, for Josh McDaniels' influence on this team. If they can keep the penalties down, that's something that no Raider team has been able to boast in ever.
Yeah, it's going to be about a couple things. When you're a good teacher, when you're a good instructor, right, and you're a good coach, a good leader, everyone is very clear on what's expected of you. There's no gray area here, okay? You know what's expected of you when you walk in the building. You know what's expected of you at your position, as a teammate, as a player, as a leader. You know what's expected of you. Then those top echelon leaders, teachers, coaches, they inspect what they expect. So they're going to make sure they hold everyone accountable to those expectations, including themselves and the coaching staff. And that attention to detail is going to make the difference, because the penalties aren't made in the game. The penalties are made in the practice field. When you don't cut that shit out in practice, they're going to play like that. Yeah. So that's where his opportunity lies, is during practice and the expectations he sets and how he inspects those expectations.
Congratulations for making it all the way to the end of our video. If you want Darren Waller to catch 20 touchdown passes next season and for Max Crosby to have 30 sacks, go ahead and subscribe and click the next video.